Good evening and welcome to Hotline and Business Building Business, brought to you live each week by the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber brings you this program every week to highlight topics that affect you as small businesses and as residents of the city of Chicago and the surrounding suburbs. And we try to bring you interesting topics. This is an interactive show. We ask you to please call in and ask questions of our guest. And today we have a wonderful guest with some great information that we're looking forward to hearing. And his name is Mr. Rob Rose. Rob is the executive director of the Cook County Land Bank. I'm sure a lot of you have not heard about. Welcome, Rob.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And I'm sure a lot of you have not heard about the land bank, but it is. I'm so proud of our county for taking on this initiative. And with that, I'll let Rob expound and tell us exactly what the Cook County Land Bank is.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. So I don't want you to not know about the Cook County Land Bank. That's one of the reasons I'm doing so much outreach, is to make sure that people do know and understand exactly what the Cook County Land Bank is and what we do. So the Cook County Land Bank Authority is a county agency founded in 2013 to address blighted, abandoned, vacant buildings throughout the county. So our job is simple. Our mission is straightforward, which is to obtain these buildings, these vacant, abandoned buildings, and put them back to productive use. Now, the ways that we do that and the strategies that we do that, I think will be really intriguing to your viewers, because this is really a call to action for all rehabbers, investors, and homeowners who are interested in revitalizing their community. We have a process by which they're able to acquire these properties, rehab them, bring them back to productive use, put them back on the tax rolls, and we think this is the key to neighborhood revitalization.
So, Rob, where did the properties come from?
Properties come from a variety of sources. They come from banks that have gone through the foreclosure process. They become real estate owned or REO properties, and we acquire them that way.
Okay.
They come through the court system, through the vacant building call or the demolition call. They may come to us through the scavenger sale, which is a process by which the county is able to acquire vacant and abandoned properties via the delinquent taxes. And then we also receive a number of donations from private individuals as well as banks and other institutions. And so through these methods of acquisition, we clear title, clear back taxes, city violations, and other encumbrances, and reset these properties for redevelopment. So that the barriers that you face typically in a home, you just have to worry about the rehabilitation costs and the ability to execute on that home or that business and bring it back.
Okay. So, well, give us a little history leading up to now on the
Sure.
the land bank. How did it start? How did this come about? And I think you said in 2013.
Well, 2013 is when the land bank was formed, but the work started well before then. So the land bank in Cook County was really a reaction to the foreclosure crisis.
I see.
So what we saw in Cook County were a record number of foreclosure filings. The court systems were overrun, if you will, with properties that were being foreclosed on, as was the nation with the crisis. And as a response to that crisis, when you started looking at the number of properties that were being lost to foreclosure, you saw a number of communities that had never experienced a high vacancy rates.
Sure.
Starting to experience that, and you started to see neighborhoods that were already sort of depressed become even more
depressed.
depressed. And so it was really a call to action, for the county to come up with a solution. And there were a number of individuals led by President Tony Preckwinkle and by County Commissioner Bridget Gaynor that started looking at land banking as an option.
I see.
And so land banks have existed in some form for the last 30 years, but this is fairly new to the county in terms of how it can be used. And so with that, there were lots of different stakeholders that were involved. There was a committee that was put together to study how to implement a land bank. there were consulting groups and different people that were brought in to help us think through how to structure it. And what came out of that in 2013 was a county ordinance that created the Land Bank Authority. And then we received some funding, initial funding from the Chicago Community Trust, from the MacArthur Foundation, and then we were able to land a large grant that really helped to establish the current structure of the land bank, and that was through the National Mortgage Settlement.
I see.
And through that, through those series of grants, we were able to establish the land bank, able to staff it, and now working on these strategies to become self-sustainable. So I'm very happy that in a very short period of time, in 3 years, we've been able to sustain our operations based on the work that we've done and off of the proceeds of the properties that we sell. And so we are proud to say we are one of the few agencies that receive zero tax dollars for revenue.
Really?
All of our revenues derive from grants and from program income that we produce from selling real estate.
And how does a person find out about available real estate?
Sure.
And do they have to? Does the buyer have to rehab? Because many of these homes need renovation.
Yes.
Right?
So the expectation is the buyer will rehab the property. If they're a homeowner, that they would be able to qualify for a purchase rehab loan. If they're an investor or a developer, that they would have the resources to redevelop their home. So we're selling the homes to them at a discount.
And go ahead.
Yeah. So the way they find out about our inventory is our website. Our website is cookcountylandbank.org. That's cookcountylandbank.org. Or you Google Cook County Land Bank, it will pop up top of the search. On our website, you follow the link, view our properties. A map of the county shows up along with all the properties that we have in inventory. You're able to click on each of the dots. A picture of the property pops up along with the address and the PIN number. And one of the things you can do is you look at the properties, you can apply for that property.
I see.
Which is how you express interest.
And do you offer any lending assistance or make referrals?
We don't offer any lending assistance. I often start off my talks in person by saying the Cook County Land Bank is not a bank in the sense that we loan money. The word bank really refers to our ability to hold or bank properties.
I see.
So we really deal with the distressed real estate and being able to hold it for a period of time. But we do have a number of partners that we work with. We work with a private bank. We work with the Chicago Community Loan Fund. We work with Community Investment Corporation, Renovo Financial, as well as RCN Capital, some of the partners that we have. And we're expanding that partnership every day. We're working now with U.S. Bank on a purchase rehab loan, as well as NHS Chicago. So there are a number of partners that we have that can help both on the rehab side and on the home ownership side.
And I saw somewhere that you also people can also rent the properties.
Well, as an investor, you can buy properties,
and
rehab them, and then rent them out.
I see.
Now, we'll say that our primary focus is home ownership. So right now, if you're interested in buying tons of property and creating a rental portfolio, then the land bank's not going to be a place to go as that primary source for what you're looking to do. But if say you buy 5 homes from us, if you sell 4 and rent 1, we can work with that. We want it to be a predominance of homes to be rehabbed and to be sold. We really think that's what's going to take to help to move the needle in terms of neighborhood revitalization.
Now, in looking at how many properties you've moved since you started, is it mostly developers or individual homeowners?
Yeah. So from inception through last month, we keep everything on a monthly basis. We've had 566 discrete transactions. We've sold 349 properties. We've purchased 349 properties. We sold 217. Of the 217 properties that we've sold to 135 individual community developers. But we call them community developers. These are small mom and pop developers that are locally owned, may have a crew of 2 or 3, maybe capable of doing 2 or 3 homes in a year. And so our strategy has been to really target that group, because we think that's an essential group. It's the small business owner that's going to help us to stabilize and then revitalize these communities.
And they're up, and 9 times out of 10, they're probably employing people from the community. So,
Absolutely.
it's, you're also offering employment
Absolutely.
as well as part of the program.
That's correct.
Okay, so we talked about how do you, I know you have to go through the court process or when these homes are in foreclosure and, trying to get title and everything. Can you talk about that? How do you go about doing that, and
Sure.
how long does it take?
So part of why the land bank is such an important institution is because all of these processes are very time-consuming processes. Typical court process would take 18 to 24 months.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
When you're going through the foreclosure process itself, it can be upwards of 900 days. That's 3 years. Okay?
Right.
And so what we do as a land bank is we take the time to go through those processes such that we can aggregate or bank these properties, and so that the developers, investors, homeowners can come to us and sort of shop what we've done.
I see.
So we're acquiring properties all the time through all these different methods with all these different timelines so that we can create this inventory, so that we create the process. So instead of a homeowner having to go through that 3-year process of foreclosure or the 2-year court process to get a property through the abandonment, we're able to do that work on their behalf. And so when you come to the land bank, what you're simply doing is shopping a menu of properties in our inventory. So we're acquiring all the time. So my team is very busy looking at properties, evaluating in court, doing all those different things so that we can create this inventory of properties for the neighborhood.
So you can actually start working on the inventory, as you call it, before the family that's losing it?
No. So we only deal with vacant and abandoned
Okay,
properties
vacant,
as a
okay.
land bank, right? So
Well,
right. So
let's make that clear.
Right, very clear. We're not taking people's homes. We're not grabbing land. I've heard that the land bank is a land grab. We're working with vacant and abandoned properties. We're working with properties where the taxes haven't been paid in 3 years. In many cases, taxes haven't been paid in 10 years, 20 years. There's 23,000 properties that have tax delinquent 5 years or more. Those are the properties that we're targeting. And we have enough of that to target to not go after someone's home and their livelihood.
And so what are the people in the community saying, say in that neighborhood where you've, taken over an abandoned property and have been successful selling it?
Well, the feedback that I've got has been very positive because
Okay.
a lot of times we're addressing long-term vacant homes. So this is a home that people would drive by for years and it's been vacant, and now they see our sign up on the building. They will call us and let us know, hey, people are trying to break in, people are broken
Okay.
in. We secure all of our buildings and we monitor them, but we have had great neighborhood engagement to help us police these properties.
Great.
And then once the rehabber comes in or once a homeowner buys it and then takes it and fixes it up, it immediately brightens up that block.
Sure.
And so
sure.
the feedback has been very positive about the work that we're doing.
Great.
We have a couple of things that we really, mechanisms that we use to make sure that the rehabilitation takes place timely. So anybody that purchases a property from the land bank, we have a deed restriction that we record that says that you have 12 months to rehab this property or we could take the property back.
Okay.
The whole idea is that we don't want to sell to someone speculating. Speculators are a lot of what hurt the market, that people will buy
Exactly.
properties, not do anything with it, so to hold it and see what's going to happen. We want people to engage with us, but they want them to have a plan to buy it and rehab it. So that's one thing that we do. The other thing that we do is we establish a mortgage against the property. We call it a soft mortgage. It's not money that we give or money that we expect back, but what it does do, it allows us to stay in the chain of title.
I
It
see.
allows us to understand what's happening with that property well after the sale. So if they're rehabbing it, are they paying their subcontractors
Okay.
on time?
Oh, really?
Are they addressing code violations? So being in chain of title will help us to monitor that
I see.
because we'll get notified if those things are happening. So we get a chance to see and make sure that we're not selling properties to someone that's irresponsible and someone that's not going to be a good steward of the land.
Okay. And so the properties are all over Cook County.
All over Cook County.
And how do you identify, which neighborhoods to go into, and give us an idea of some of the neighborhoods that
Sure.
you have properties in?
So when I started about a year and a half ago. I asked two questions. I said, where do we have an oversupply of inventory? Where do we have a lot of vacant, abandoned, foreclosed properties? And then I asked, where do we have some signs of life, some demand that we can quantify? And so my staff did an analysis, and then we worked in conjunction with DePaul Institute for Real Estate Studies, Jeff Smith and his team. We worked with CMAP, the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, and we worked with MPC, the Metropolitan Planning Council, to help us fact check to make sure we were looking at the right indices and they had the right analysis. And what came out of that was neighborhoods that we thought that we could be most effective in, that they had ample supply, but they also had demand drivers that we could pull from. So we knew that if we were proactive in these areas, that we would be most effective in helping to revitalize those areas.
I see.
So out of that analysis came 13 Chicago neighborhoods and 14 municipalities. And then we call that our focus communities.
Okay. Well, I think we have a, did you want to show
Sure, you
our
can show that.
viewers
Right.
exactly which communities that are being focused?
Yeah. So within the Chicago area, we have Austin, Humboldt Park, and East Garfield Park on the west. In the southwest, we have Gage Park and Chicago Lawn. And then on the south side, Grand Boulevard, Washington Park, Woodlawn, South Shore, Greater Grand Crossing, Chatham, Auburn Gresham, and Washington Heights. And what's important about these neighborhoods is that these are neighborhoods that there's a lot of demand. People want to live in these neighborhoods. There's a lot of supply of houses that we've been able to be effective in turning around. And what we're starting to see in these neighborhoods is we're starting to see true recovery, where prices are going up. They're not taking off like unaffordable,
Sure.
but certainly we're getting back to the pre-recession levels in terms of the value. And that's good because a lot of people bought houses in these neighborhoods expecting that there would be some appreciation.
Exactly.
And so that helps the existing neighborhoods because now they have equity in their homes to do their renovations if they want to fix their porch or fix a roof or buy a new boiler or something like that.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely. And so we're starting to see that shift from the distressed sales that were happening in many neighborhoods. The only sales that were taking place over, the last, 3 or 4 years you're looking were cash sales. Now we're starting to see mortgages being originated there, which means the banks are lending there now.
Exactly.
And then that activity is helping to spur more activity. So we've been very happy. We're starting to see that occur in these neighborhoods, and that's a win for us.
Well, have you seen anything, any correlation between the properties, these communities, and the schools? Because a lot of times people are, that's their biggest concern when they move into a community.
Sure.
The type of schools, the level of the schools,
So that's a little more difficult for us to quantify. We don't have a study right now that ties in our activity to the schools. But what we did take into account were schools and to see where there were good active schools and where the schools were not being torn down or taken away.
Sure.
And in some of these neighborhoods, you have good and active public schools. In some of the neighborhoods, you have good active charter schools. And so, like I said, we haven't done a direct correlation. But when people choose where to live, part of the equation is the schools.
Absolutely.
And so people are choosing with their dollars that these are the neighborhoods in which they want to live. So we, from that, we take it that the schools are in those areas are at least adequate because people are choosing to move there and they have choice to move anywhere. Right.
And so where are these buyers coming from? Where do you find?
We find them everywhere, right? So we just had a series of workshops. We had one in Columbus Park October 1st. And then October 15th, we had one in Captain Hard Times on the south side. In each one, we had over 100 people attend. And these are rehabbers, realtors, homeowners, investors, people that know that there's still opportunity within real estate and they want to be a part of it.
Be a part of it.
And we think that there's more than enough properties, there's more than enough blight in Chicago that we can open this up. So instead of having 2 or 3 developers get all the work, get hundreds and hundreds of properties, let's open it up to we have hundreds and hundreds of partners that are able to do 2 or 3 homes.
Is there a limit to, can one developer buy, more than, the majority of the
Right.
properties in
So
an
so
area?
starting out, it's we say we like to let's date a little bit before we get married, right?
Right.
So we'll start anybody off with 1 to 2 homes,
Okay.
and let's see how we do with those 1 to 2 homes, because real estate still is a practice where you need to have experience.
For sure.
So you need to be experienced. Buying a home is the easy part, right? Having the funds and buying it is easy, but getting your permits, having the plans, managing your crews, managing through the weather, securing the property so you manage through vandalism, finishing out the home, and then being able to sell it or rent it
Right.
requires some skill. And so let's see how well you've mastered those skills, so that I don't create further blight by giving you more than you can handle, and then you be stuck and not be able to finish these jobs. If you do well, you can get more.
Okay.
And we've seen that where we start off with 1 or 2, and now they're able to do 2 and 3.
go,
And
right.
we're able to do that.
Have you found that many of the home buyers, the individuals, are first-time home buyers, or are these people that have,
We've had a couple of first-time home buyers, and this is a program that we're still in a pilot phase on.
Okay.
But our very first home buyer that purchased from us was a first-time home buyer that was able to pull together some family money to buy the house and
Okay.
and is currently doing the rehab. So actually didn't qualify for a loan. Actually is doing this from family resources.
Oh, okay, that's a great idea.
Absolutely. And so we think there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Sure.
And so we don't require that you get a bank loan. If you have friends and family, you're able to pool your money together to buy these houses, that's fine. A lot of the houses that we have are under $30,000.
Really?
So we're not talking about an extreme amount of money to be able to afford these homes. So we encourage that. We encourage people.
Our phone should be hopping off the hook by now to hear that audience. Under 30,000, and these are now. Are most of them single? Are they all single family? Are they?
We sell. There's some single
multi-
families. There's some 1 to 4 unit residential buildings.
Okay.
We do commercial. We do multifamily. We do industrial. So we do the full gamut, the full array. With the smaller developers that we're working with, the 1 to 4 unit space seems to be a sweet spot, because the barriers of entry in terms of the amount of money needed is lower, right? And they're more forgiving in terms of a rehab. When you start doing commercial and industrial, those costs are higher.
For sure.
The quality of work has to be to a different level. And so for people cutting their teeth starting out, the home rehab seems to be a good place to start.
Okay. And then once a person contacts you, how long? What do you say the length of time for the whole process?
Sure.
From the time they contact you till the home is finished, and
Sure. So right now, when you reach out to us, when you go to it starts with the website. It starts with identifying a house that we have in inventory that you're interested in purchasing.
And can you share that website again?
Yeah,
please?
that's cookcountylandbank.org. cookcountylandbank.org. You view a property, you put in the application for it. Within 2 weeks, our acquisition specialist will contact you. They will either schedule a time to meet you to see the property, or they'll give you the access code to get inside. Now, this is what's really important. We don't sell any property sight unseen. You
Okay.
must inspect the property. We want you to get inside, kick the tires, understand what you're getting, so that when you're getting into the rehab, there's always going to be some element of unknown, but you get a
sure.
chance to get in there and see what it is, walk
Right.
on the floors,
Exactly.
take pictures, do what you need to do to evaluate. For each of the homes that we sell, we have a price listed on the website. If you're interested
Is
in
that
putting in an
negotiable?
offer,
Are the prices?
there's some negotiation. We can negotiate.
Uh-huh.
Part of what we do is we want to make sure that we get the right home to the right buyer. And we make great pains to make sure that we're pricing these things properly, so that the person can put the proper rehab in,
I see.
and can bring this back to productive use. Absolutely.
Well, this has been very interesting and eye-opening, and I'm hoping that you didn't call in because you wanted to get all the information and as much information. And Mr. Rose, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I would love to have you back again.
Yes.
Because this is a great topic, and remember, it's the Cook County Land Bank, and they have homes, they have properties to help our blighted communities.
That's it.
Thank you so much for viewing Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce, Business Building Business. We'll see you again next week. Good night.